I'm joined now by Congressman Jerry Nadler, chairman of the Judiciary Committee. Thank you for joining me. First, your reaction to the release of Paul Manafort from prison?
Well, it's highly suspicious. It seems to be another step in the politicization of the Justice Department, where the president's friends, people the president supports, are treated one way and everybody else is treated the other way. Just another example, like the outrageous decision to drop the prosecution of Michael Flynn after he stood up in court and swore under oath that he was in fact guilty. This is unprecedented, and we have a real problem with the Justice Department being subverted and politicized to be the personal agent of the president instead of the Department of Justice of the United States.
We reported the history of Bill Barr and this committee you run. Are there any plans to have Mr. Barr come back in to address all of this?
Well, yes. He had agreed to come in and testify before the committee on March 31st, as you pointed out, and that was put off. We've been in communication with them. And now that the District of Columbia has extended the stay-at-home order till June 8th, we are saying that we expect to see Barr in front of our committee on June 9th, the very next day.
Well, that's new. Is that something that you have reason to believe he will agree to?
Well, he hasn't agreed to it yet, but we will do what we have to do, whether that's a subpoena or whether that's deciding the Department of Justice doesn't really need all the appropriations it's getting, or the Office of the Attorney General doesn't need its appropriations. We cannot have a situation where the Attorney General just thumbs his nose and the administration holds Congress in contempt.
Very interesting. So your view is, as a practical matter, Washington formally reopens there June 8th, and you're demanding Barr come back on this effectively overdue hearing on June 9th. And if he doesn't, you're prepared to use the power of the purse or subpoena to make it happen.
We're prepared to do whatever we have to do. We will consider all those methods.
Understood. Let me remind viewers, you know the issues well, of course, what happens when you keep score of some of the more serious convictions from the Mueller probe. I want to put up on the screen some of the top convicted Trump advisors. Manafort, as mentioned, was incarcerated. Now he's effectively released on home confinement or called home quarantine. Mike Flynn had pled guilty, and now there's an effort to have him drop the case. Interestingly, Michael Cohen was initially supposed to get home confinement. His prison reportedly had much more of a coronavirus outbreak than Manafort's, where it was zero, and that has been basically interfered with at this point. He remains incarcerated. Mr. Chairman, do you view this as an active set of steps to use the Justice Department and the Bureau of Prisons to reward people who were effectively loyal to Trump and also to punish those who were not?
Clearly, that is clearly the case. And you see this in exactly what you just pointed out about the Manafort on the one hand, Cohen on the other hand. Flynn, the attempt to reduce the sentence of Roger Stone, step after step after step to make the Justice Department not a Department of Justice of the United States, but simply a handmaiden of the president. And the president says so. The president comes out and says, we're going to look at the crimes committed by the investigators. We're going to investigate other things. That's why we have to have Barr in front of us on the 9th to get to the bottom that they are subverting the Department of Justice into a personal agent of the president and subverting justice. And that's completely contrary to the interests of justice in the United States. We cannot have a Department of Justice that is not impartial and that serves the personal interests of the president and not the interests of justice.
Will you seek to hear from any of these prosecutors as well?
We're in discussion with a number of individuals, and that may very well happen.